Okay, good evening. It's 6 o'clock. We'd like to go ahead and get our pre-council meeting started. Maybe we can move through our agenda pretty quickly tonight and get some stuff done. First thing I'd like to do is welcome all of you for attending tonight. I would like to remind you to please silence or turn your phones off so they won't disrupt the meeting. Mr. Little, I think you did the invocation last week. Mr. Butler, you like to do the invocation and pledge this week? Invocation and pledge, would you move? All right, Mr. Butler will lead us in the invocation and followed by the pledge. Have a roll call. It appears all are here, and our department heads, attorney and the city clerk. We have an agenda. It's in your booklet tonight. Hopefully y'all like the booklets with everything in it, so you can follow through. Has everybody had a chance to look over the agenda?
Yes, sir.
All right, would you make that in form of a motion to approve?
Ooh, yes, sir.
Have a motion by
I'll second.
Ms. Reese, seconded by Mr. Little. Our last council meeting, our last regular meeting was on June the 7th, 2022. We should have the minutes. They were sent to you by email, and you have them in front of you.
I can handle that. Second it.
Mr. Skelton, Mr. Phillips. Then we had a workshop. It was last Tuesday night on June the 14th. Should have the minutes in there. It was just the topics that was discussed.
I'll do it. I'll second.
Thank you, Bubba. Mr. Little. Any recognitions to be brought up tonight? Okay, we only have one person listed to speak tonight, and that's Darrell Lee to discuss cows at 58 Woodland Avenue. That's the only person that has to be on the agenda.
Yes, sir. I just spoke with,
Okay,
they, were unaware that they needed to turn the application back in, so they brought their application and everything with them for tonight. They thought they had to bring it to council. So they would like to present that to the council tonight.
yeah, I rode by y'all's house Saturday to make sure that, see if y'all had forgotten to do it, but there was nobody home, so.
I thought we were supposed to bring it back at the meeting, so I guess that was a misunderstanding on our part.
This something has been before the council. I don't think there'll be any problem. Nobody will object, so. So you just want to appear before the council tonight, just for the annexation of your property, which we discussed at length at the last meeting. Okay, and then we have a gentleman recently moved here, Mr. Lee. You were here at the last meeting, and that's, you're wanting to inquire about an ordinance where allowing you to have cows on 17 acres that you have. Okay. Does the council wish to discuss this any in pre-council? I mean, we know what it's about. He's already been up here. We can take a few minutes now that may keep us from having to spend a lot of time at the council meeting tonight on it, or we can simply bring it back up.
I have a layout of the property also where we have fences in place to keep the cattle out of Steel Creek, which we talked about before, but this is just, you know, an outline of our property, and what's in the yellow is obviously the flood line, that's the Steel Creek, and well, right there where the flood line is, where the first one is, Mr. Phillips has it, we have a fence on each side to keep the cattle, if we did get cows out of the water, and we do have irrigation already in place for the cattle. I looked it up and it said y'all, you changed it in 2018 to allow the horses, and I looked it up and it says 1 horse per acre, and I'm like, I'm not trying to have 17 horses, I'm just like 8 cows, 8 to 10 cows. These personally, I just feel, I don't know, I was like, what's the difference between a horse and a cow? I mean, you ride one and you feed one and you can potentially sell one or eat one, I mean, that's the only difference to me.
I think we would want to, don't we have to amend the ordinance? And then we would want to state it in case somebody else came, we would want to specify how many per acre. That's, you know, you don't have to have that many. But we will want to be specific in case you did want to get more and exceed, you know, the 1 per acre. You know, it just kind of
Yeah.
covers us, so.
We almost voted on it before, and we didn't, you know.
You, if I'm not wrong, you've already drawn the ordinance up and it listed so many per acre. Am I right?
Yeah, but there was a question about whether it was per grown head or if you're counting cows and calves.
Well-
But y'all decided not to vote on it. So
Yeah, I brought it up for a motion. It died like of a second.
That was somebody else come before.
Well, it was just to create the ordinance. It wasn't nobody in
Yeah,
particular
somebody had come,
asked
I
it.
guess they tried to say they come on our behalf, we hadn't even, we were in the process of buying the house, we weren't even down here yet, so that's probably why it got swatted like a fly, so.
I think we had said, I don't remember what everybody agreed on, but it was if it was a mother and a calf, and then once the calf got old enough to go, it would have to go to its own acre. So, is that, do we remember like talking about that?
Oh, it was on how we were gonna count that, because if you count, they're okay when they're small, but they get big quick.
Yeah.
And
We were planning on keeping, you know, exceeding whatever we get approved for, because like I said, if we had 6 calves at one size, if they did, we would sell the calves off, we weren't gonna try to exceed our limit we're allowed to have.
So do we want to bring the ordinance up tonight? Talking about saving time. I mean, it's already drawn up and we've looked at it.
Well, that's what I think we, addressed before, right?
All that was addressed, right, the
we
ordinance.
left it as the same as the horse, the way, if my memory is right, is it's the same acreage as 1 per acre.
I think we,
Y'all wanted to revisit the actual, what he had amended.
I think we got really close and we were waiting for you guys to come and see what it was that you wanted. And it sounds like that you're already aware of like, you know, environmental impact and stuff like that, that you've addressed, so.
I think it was you, and I supported you on that said that there's got to be a certain amount of acreage before we even consider it. I think it was over 5 acres to even
Right.
to bring anything up. And so, you know,
And all that's, Jay put all that in the ordinance, that's what I'm
Thought he-
saying. We worked on it
was
for
it
2
5
months.
acres? Is that what we agreed on or more?
I don't remember specifically if that's in the ordinance. I do remember us discussing it. I do know the limit is in there. It's the same as what's on, we just add changed from the horse to the cow. But it was, y'all want to, what was open is, how do you want to count the cows? A cow and a calf or one?
How would you want to count them?
I don't know, you can run into that too, if he says there's a fence
I don't
across there.
think it
that
really
he's not
matters.
gonna Cross,
Oh,
you know, that's gonna
You know, have-
knock the acres down a lot.
well, no, and then you would have to
So
move it
they-
off,
They
but,
get big quick.
yeah,
So then it counts one, and when it got big.
well, whatever, it
Say
doesn't,
you got 10, and
Sure.
then in 6 or 7 months, it looks like it's 20 now.
sure, yeah. And then also, I guess, there would be like, there's part of an ordinance in there that's like for nuisance, like as far as smell. I know he's addressed odor control, so that's already in there.
A general nuisance ordinance that we have in animal smells.
Okay,
What we changed was just to add cows to the section that allowed certain animals to be on certain size acres.
Sounds like we need to study our own ordinance or what our proposal was, so we'll know exactly what to tell Mr. Lee. If, I'm not totally opposed, but I want to make sure somebody's got proper amount of property to have them.
If there's questions, I would maybe introduce it, reintroduce it again, and then y'all vote on it next meeting.
okay.
They'd give us the couple of weeks to change to see if there's any change that we would like to
I think another issue was also, over the whole city with neighbors adjoining these properties. I mean, even if it is enough area, you could have adjoining neighbors. And I mean, that could be anywhere in the city.
And I think you had talked about, having a horse and a cow. They're both equally probably as smelly.
Yeah.
I don't know, though.
But the meeting tonight, we can reintroduce the ordinance and put it on the agenda for the July 5th meeting. And that way, everybody will have a chance to read it and see what the concerns are or any questions. And then we bring it up then. Is that okay with everybody, or?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so. Mr. Lee, I hate to keep dragging you along on this, but our next meeting is July the 5th. And the clerk has said she will give us the changing, because everybody had a different opinion on it up here, trying to make something work. And obviously, there's certain areas of the town where there's gonna probably be some uproar over that, including where you're at there, if the number gets too high.
Like I mentioned, we weren't gonna try to exceed anything over 10. Like I said, I've talked to both my neighbors, and they don't have no problem with it. And like I said, I can keep them separated by a couple hundred yards, just by I got enough fencing where I can keep them, a couple hundred yards from any neighbor. So that's not an issue. Unless somebody just, I don't know, that one area, there was some property, but it's sold. There's nobody potentially to buy that other adjacent 17 acres right there just next to us, because somebody already owns it, so I don't.
Okay. All right, well, I don't think we'll probably discuss it much further tonight. You're welcome to stay for the meeting, or you're also welcome to go and just come back at 6 o'clock on July the 5th. And, if there's any questions, one of us or Tom out there may contact you and see if there's anything we need to do for clarification. Is that okay? All right, thank y'all for coming up tonight, and hopefully we can get this answered for you soon. Okay, there's no one else on the agenda to approach tonight. So,
Y'all can leave.
yes, sir.
That was
I was supposed to be on the agenda for tonight. About the park Street easement, driveway, right of way, whatever you want to call it.
Yes, sir, I knew that's what, man, I remembered you being here, but I didn't know.
I mean, I was supposed to find out about the utilities running down that easement. See if there was something that the city had an agreement, or,
What the water department determined was that it was not a water city line over on that property. It's the line from the landowner to to connect to the system. All out.
what about gas?
My understanding, it was the water, not the gas. We don't service the gas. It's not a city gas system. The gas company may have an easement, but we don't provide the easement for the gas company.
If the city has no rights to that easement, then why did the city put our water at that end and not at the other end?
Well, if it's they put where people are using roadways there, is when they built the sewer, they put laterals there at places where it looked like people were using their roads, so it would be easy for them to get to. But the city didn't go into the water, into the driveway with any of their equipment or meter or anything like that. Those are private lines coming to the city's sewer system, according to what the water board determined.
How was we able to run our water down if we didn't own it or the city didn't own it?
Well, it goes back to, that's a private dispute between the two landowners as to whether the landowner has an easement. And I think that's what started the problem, was there was an easement given to the prior owner of the lot that's furthest away from the city street. If they have an easement, they can use it and bring their line across that easement to the city street.
So that evening, carry on to the next owners?
That's something y'all gonna have to decide. It depends on whether the easement runs with the land, that's the legal term. Generally, they do, but that's something that's, y'all may have to decide, because I think there's a dispute over that. The, one landowner's claiming that that was a personal easement to the owner at that time and not an easement that went with the land. But even if the city wanted to enforce that dispute, we don't have jurisdiction to do that. You know, that's something, if they decided something, that would have no legal effect on that as to whether that's a valid private easement or not. If the city had a written easement, and I'm advised we don't, for that alleyway, then that would be something that we owned and we could exercise ownership over.
So what happens if my water line busts and I run down there and cut my water off and he can have me arrested for trespassing?
That's something y'all are gonna have to resolve as to whether you own the easement or does he. Because it's in dispute. You'll have to just resolve that in a court proceeding of some type.
But it's nothing the city can do for me.
Not that I know of.
That easement back there has been back there since the early 40s.
I'm not saying y'all don't have an easement, but the other people are not recognizing that. And it's not a city determination. The city is not set up to make a determination of ownership of
I
land.
wonder why when we asked to buy it so we could blacktop it, I wonder why the city council then said, well, no, you can't, we're not gonna maintain the road, but we do own it, is what they said. They wouldn't sell it to us.
I don't know why.
All those people are dead and gone now.
I don't, that's why I can't answer the question.
So what you're telling us to do is go get a lawyer and go downtown and fight it. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes, ma'am, if y'all still have a dispute. I mean, we're not trying to be difficult, but if the city doesn't have an easement over it, they have no right to tell the proper owner what they can or cannot do on
I
the
mean,
property.
I just don't understand how the city had an easement back then, and now they don't have an easement now. I mean, because.
Maybe they thought they had an easement, but as, my understanding, it's always been a driveway for people to go in and out of. It's not one of the alleyways that are on the Grand Bay Land Company. It's not in that area where those exist.
No, I mean, it's been back there probably since the 30s. I know it was back there in the 40s.
But hasn't it always been for access to the people that go in and out?
Yeah, it's
Back there?
access to the house that they live in, but it's also access to the backyards back there where, you know, like, you don't know Mr. Shoemaker, but they had a house there and that's the only way they could access their backyard. It's the only way I can access my backyard, and it's the only way that, the Dunns can access their backyard.
Well, I mean, y'all, there's competing sides. Y'all have two avenues. One is that there is a written easement to a prior owner that was back there. And then also, if that's not valid, it's been a prescriptive easement for however many years it's been used as a right-of-way. But the city doesn't have the jurisdiction to decide if that's right or not.
Okay, all right, I'm sorry we wasn't able to give more clarity on the answer, but I do think it's something that's going to be.
I didn't buy it and blacktop it years ago. I mean,
Right, but that was long before our time up here. I'm sorry. Okay, moving on. For the mayor's report tonight, would like to make sure that we remember Mr. Willie McKinley's family, longtime residents here of Satsuma. Mr. McKinley passed away last week. His funeral was this past Saturday. Also, Ms. Harbin, wife of the former mayor of Saraland, she passed away, and her service was today at the Forest Lawn. Some of the things set up for tonight are going to be covered in our later on, but Betty, we discussed at length the other night several things. We did get the AC repaired, as I said last week, at the library for that. Travis, did the pump lid come in for, that one was damaged at Wright Park last week?
Not sure, I sent an email to Steve just today, find out what he found out. We haven't received the invoice for it either.
Well, he said it was supposed to have been in on Friday, but he didn't send an email saying it was. So, we discussed the LEDs. We're going to bring that up later on tonight. So it was, everybody agreed to move forward on those. Allison, you asked about some thank you signs that had not been installed. They did find those up at the Public Works building.
Okay.
So I don't know who had put them up or stored them, but they looked for them. A couple days later, they found them. Yes, sir.
I have a question. Now that we found it, I need to know where you all want it to be installed. That way I can make sure I got the proper hardware to install.
I guess we could go look at it, but it was kind of it's a thank you for everybody that help with that. So I guess we want to make it visible, maybe where people are coming up to the concession window. But I don't know that I've actually seen the plaque itself, so I don't know how it's best attached to, is it an outdoor where you would put it on concrete? Yes. Okay.
It's a metal sign. The question is where.
What do y'all think up there about?
I wasn't aware of it until, workshop.
Well, I think we kind of put it away because we had gotten some bad press over the delay in the construction of the building. So we want to make sure that some time had passed and tensions had eased before we put it up.
Whenever you found a location, just let me know.
Yes, sir.
We'll get with you, Travis, okay? We can move on from that.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. The event for Sunday that we love, Satsuma, the department heads are planning that. Travis is going to work on the park the end of the week to make sure that everything's looking nice and that all of our repairs have been made. Had a department heads meeting this past Friday morning. We continued to work on making sure that we are prepared in case we do get confronted with a storm this year. Hopefully we will not, but we're still trying to get the generators all checked and up to speed, making sure all of our buildings are tested and ready, and that we have the proper items so we won't be trying to gather them at the last minute. We are having Travis had the fuel tanks that we have. Y'all know we had quite a bit of gas and diesel stored in the old tanks up there that we used to use, and we were waiting on the results to make sure that the fuel is still suitable for usage or still has the octane rating, and we plan to use that in non-emergency vehicles, start trying to burn it, so we will have some stored in case of an emergency. Tried to get Jay to work with Joe Tarver on the Union Tap the Union Chapel, so we can get a contract between us and the, something that's acceptable to everybody involved, us, the Ladies Club, and the contractor. And I've asked him to try to make sure that we can have that, and we're gonna try to have it ready for the next meeting. Our goal was to have it tonight, but I don't know, apparently Joe's out of town or something. Jay said he hasn't been able to contact him this week. So,
He advised the ladies club that he had a kind of standard form that he would draw up for us, and it would define what he's planning on building on, and then I'll take that and revise it to include the other. But I tried to get him last week and again this week, and haven't been successful.
let me know if I need to assist, because we need to have that so they can review it at the next meeting. The Ladies Club is asking for like a groundbreaking ceremony to be held on July the 17th at 4 p.m. That is a Sunday afternoon. Told them that gave us time to prepare for it, and I certainly think it would be a good idea, but I do want to make sure that we have all the paperwork in place prior to having a groundbreaking ceremony. This coming Friday, Robbie Strom is supposed to be out here. What time is he supposed to arrive? Robbie's supposed to be here at 9 a.m. so we can go over the Go Mesa grant. Also, from the state, we have, who else is coming with him? The-
Jeremiah Cole.
Hopefully, we can answer any questions that Mr. Cole has regarding the Go Mesa project. I'm doing everything we can to try to keep this thing moving forward. I hope to have him back in July before the council. Sergeant Wilcutt from the police department is requesting a list on hiring tonight. It's in the, on the items for discussion. 2 part-time, and then the, calling full-time, and then Chief Waits is requesting a list for a full-time firefighter to see by chance if they have one. And also for is it 2 part-time we agreed on positions we're trying to create? So we were trying to find out what we had open and what we needed to do, so that'll be brought up later on tonight. I have not received anything in writing from Creola regarding the letter we wrote to them, expressing an interest in seeing if there's any chance to work together on anything, but I did see Mayor Nelson at a meeting in town last week, and he said that they are preparing a response for us. Travis is still waiting on the signs that we have ordered regarding the curve on Juniper and also those new updated speed signs that we're looking at. How about let's check on those and see if we can find out something before the next meeting. Okay, thank you. At our workshop the other night, we discussed the sale of the lots on Laurel Drive. And there was no opposition from the council about us pursuing, looking at that, or moving forward with that. Everything else that's on my list, I think, will be covered by a council member or it's listed on items for discussion or consideration. That being said, we'll move to public services. Mr. Little.
Mayor, I'll mention this one item, probably basically be it, but, and I don't know if you might have received the email from Miss Monica Williamson from Sarpsy regarding a van for our senior services. I was just found out about this today, and, the council needs to know that, she's informed us that the van we're supposed to get, we're not gonna be able to get at the price that was quoted. They're calling it some kind of upcharge, and like I say, I'm just getting this, or just got word about this today, and she says she's out of her office until maybe the first of the week. But, I mean, we need to get a few more specifics as far as how much of an upcharge it's gonna be. She was listing in her email that we could stay on the list and stay where we're at and pay the upcharge. But if we get off the list, then the price could be a lot higher when we decide to get back on it to try to get another van. She's just, I don't know about, if they had some type of contract or not as far as holding them to the price. Evidently not. But, if we get off of it and then try to get back on, we liable to not get a van for 2 or 3 more years, is what she's basically saying. She's wanting us to act on it maybe before we meet again. So I don't know if you had any other information on the issue, or,
I was down there twice last week and they didn't mention it to me, and I called today and I have not got a return call.
to try
I
to,
heard about the email.
well, that's, saying she's out of the office, but I mean, they've got to give us, I guess, some time if,
Y'all can, it's something we've already all agreed on. If y'all, I guess just give me the authority to go ahead and act and stay on the list or whatever, and I'll report back at the next meeting, if that's what you want to do.
well, I'm seeing on here that it's, and I don't know, it says the current estimate is the upcharge will be somewhere between 17,000 and 24,000. Now, I don't know if that's all the response was, so I don't know if that's our part, of the upcharge, or if that's the total cost of the upcharge, or it's just kind of vague, as to. So, in my mind, yeah, I want to stay on the, the list, because it's saying, they talking about chassis and changing chassis, and then we welcome to look at other companies, but it sounds like, or other brands. But I don't know if we'd do any better, trying to look elsewhere, but that's, I guess, can be a, council decision, but I thought we was almost in line here to get our van, and then this
We were
comes.
supposed to get it, I think, in August, what the projected date?
And she's given all kind of different, scenarios that, and then even the company we're getting it from, they also have a thing in here too as to cost going up, they got a whole page, why. So, I know we was getting, a very good deal with us just having to pay, a certain little percentage of it, so, it might be best to stay on the list. And they're still talking, if we stay on the list, this is sometime into next year that we would even be getting this van. So,
Wasn't able to get any information. I don't have nothing else I can tell you.
That's-
Outside the email.
I knew I hadn't talked to you today, and I didn't know if you had a chance or if you talked to any of them, but, so that's kind of where we at. Just wanted to let everybody know that. That's,
What, you want me to continue to pursue and try to get an answer?
well, I know I do,
Okay.
so. That's all. If we can, address that.
Mr. Butler?
I don't have anything for tonight.
Mr. Skelton.
I just want to issue a big thank you to all of our employees who have to work out in the heat. I know it's been brutal the last couple of weeks, and it's not going to get any better anytime soon. You know, from police, fire, public works, sanitation, splash pad attendants, anybody that I miss, I will just reach out and say I appreciate what you do. And that's all I have for now.
In department head meetings, we've been asking them to make sure that they keep water, and they have frequent breaks, and they do everything they can possible to keep them in shade. And also, like I said, city and the water board, all employees, covered twice. But I agree. Thank you for bringing it up. Ms. Reese?
Yes, sir. The tennis court renovation is underway, and football registration is going to be starting this week. The nights are Thursday nights, June 23rd, June 30th, July 7th, and July 14th. Looks like the season will be starting up around the last week of July or the first week of August. And the first game will be on September 6th, and they'll be wrapping up the first week of November. So we're looking forward to that season. More details to come. And Mr. Miller contacted me, and so he'll be filling out the appropriate paperwork in City Hall and having that on file. And that's all I have for now.
Okay, start dates when?
There's not a firm start date, but they're looking at the last week of July or the first week of August. I did reach out to baseball because I saw that they've been advertising for a fall ball. I know they were able to work together, baseball and football, last year, so hopefully they'll be able to work together this year. But just reaching out to see what the days of the week that baseball is interested in. I have not heard from them, so I just reached out to them.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Moving on, Mr. Phillips.
Mayor, all I have is to announce that John Deere tractor finally came in, and that Travis and Public Works has already put it into operation, and it's a nice piece of equipment. That's all I have.
Thank you. Hopefully y'all have had a chance to go by and look at it. So as far as I know, it's the first air-conditioned cab we've ever bought for Public Works. So hopefully it can get a lot of work done. I do think we need to probably get a new bush hog, a bigger bush hog, because I think that tractor's capable of pulling a lot more than the,
It dwarfs the one they're pulling right now.
so I actually asked Travis to start today getting prices on another mower or a couple of pieces of equipment attachments for it so we can use that tractor year round. Okay, that's all from the council. We'll go into items for discussion and/or consideration. First thing is A, payment of the bills.
I'll second.
Mr. Skelton, Mr. Phillips. B, discussion and consideration of sidewalk agreement with Civil Southeast, TAP 22.
I know you had a map with some different options. Is this the one that's just for Old Highway 43 and Hartley Road?
Yes, and to clarify, this is one that the council had already done. The state failed to send the agreement to us, and this is just a follow-up on that, so that if we don't sign this agreement, because they failed to send it, then we can't move forward with the 23 that we already started. So it's just an error on their part, they need us to correct.
I'll make the motion.
I can second it.
Thank you, Mr. Little, Allison. C, discussion and consideration of reappointing Billy Salter to the library board for a term ending June 22. What will the term be for? Do we know, Heather? How long? It says term ending June 22. But I mean, I think if we reappoint him, shouldn't it have the end date of the term we're appointing him to?
Well, it's gonna be filling that term there.
Right, I understand it's filling that term, but it'd be an appointment for,
I'll get it for you, I don't have it in here.
okay.
I'll say they're 4-year terms.
Yeah, we'll look and have that for the council meeting. did understand Mr. Salter does want to be reappointed. He is a board member that does participate, is my understanding. They're asking that we reappoint him, so I need a motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Butler, Mr. Phillips. Same thing for the next person. I think she is chairman, Emily Eller, I can't hardly ever pronounce her last name.
Orlano.
Orlano. But I think she is the president of the board over there now, isn't she?
That's correct.
So I'll need a motion to reappoint her.
I can do that.
I'll need a second. Ms. Reese, Mr. Butler. Discussion and consideration of creating 2 part-time positions for a part-time firefighter.
So,
Mr. Butler, Mr. Skelton. F, discussion and consideration of calling for a full-time firefighter list.
second that one also.
G, discussion and consideration of signing an agreement with Alabama Power on changing the 35-watt to, should be the 2 35-watt LED signs? You want to give, and you want to give real quickly where all we're talking about, because I think it's around City Hall here, and we've got several locations that we'll be changing to. If you don't have them, let's just try to get it for the meeting.
Yeah, the summary's on the, in your packet.
Okay?
I don't think it breaks it down by
We covered them the other night in the workshop, so everybody, Jason, if you've had a chance to look over the rest of them, we've talked about it. H, discussion and consideration of an estimate for a sign by design for a sign and installation at the Bark Park entrance.
I would like to make that motion.
How much is that sign?
It's 4 signs, and is the quote in the packet?
Yes, I think it's toward the back of the packet, didn't I saw that sign.
The 4,400 covers the sign that's on that second page, this one here. Oh, she said red tab. This sign,
$4,400, right?
yes, sir.
One sign here is
Yeah.
44.
No, it's not. The next one is the rules, and we talked about that last meeting where we struck the first line here, and I have all the little typos that are fixed on this paper. So when we order it, those will be submitted. And then,
2 signs.
and then there's a small dog sign under 25 pounds, and then a large dog sign, 25 pounds and over, to indicate which side is appropriate for the size dog that a person has. And that does include the installation. And this does mirror what like the splash pad has. And that was Randy's good idea. But the steel is expensive, but it will last.
Guess I'll second that then.
Thank you, Randy.
Motion will be made by Allison, seconded by Mr. Little. Moving on to I, discussion and consideration of a quote for directional signs around the city from explosive signs.
I'll make that motion if we can add that one that you had that was like, had the Public Works go in the one way, if we could just put the Bark Park either above or below that with an arrow. You think they would add that for us?
Also, myself, if, we can do it when we discuss it, but we can do it now, but I wish we could come up with a different word than city dump. And all y'all can help. I mean,
Trash ramp?
I thought about it a while, and it's hard to come up. I mean,
Yeah, I thought
I
we,
just don't like the dump part.
Waste
thought we was gonna say
disposal, trash ramp.
Trash ramp, I thought was what we just,
City trash ramp,
Just take the city part off of it.
yes,
Say trash
right.
trash ramp. I come up with refuge collection. Disposal collection, so there's not a lot of words for it, but,
So what do you want, so what did y'all say change it to?
Trash ramp?
trash ramp,
I'd like to see someday it says recycling also down that way.
Yeah.
Where we can start.
well, I thought about that, but if you just put recycling or, you know,
It's too vague of a word right now. I think we need to be more specific.
yeah, I
but
think
still
so also.
Waste disposal and recycling?
No, I just don't like dump.
No, it's not, because it's not, no, but
It just sounds like a dump.
Yeah,
Bad dad joke.
Oh, man.
Steve from the water board is supposed to be working to redo all the signage on the front of going into that area over there. All these signs are up and all about, has been added to. I'll call him tomorrow, make sure he's proceeding on that.
okay.
All right, Allison has a motion on item number I.
I'll second it. Yeah.
J, discussion and consideration of the city property on Laurel Drive. Allison, you'd kind of asked what we were talking about roughly the other night.
Okay.
That was just a rough, something put together.
Is there 11? 10? 10 of them?
If you want to make them that way.
Oh, that's 11
what we're going
houses.
to talk about with the lots. I mean, that's, you know, you can go 10 if you do it that way. Reduce it down, make them all a lot, they'd be bigger if you went to 9. At our workshop the other night, there was no disagreement among the council regarding the sale of the lots, but there was some discussion on what they wanted as far as setbacks, square footage, and we're just not that far along to answer those questions. We would have to work to start setting those up, and I personally would like to make sure it stays very consistent with the neighboring area. So basically being 35-foot setbacks, all the lots having to be over 100 or 15, over 15,000 square feet per lot if we can get that, or we should easily get it on 9 of them. And that leaves the wood frontage all from Laurel all the way down to the dead end of Juniper. You see there's quite a distance in between that and the rear property line.
You want that put into a motion tonight?
Yeah, I think it'd be good if we put a motion so everybody would know. I mean, we're not fixing to sell any of them, but at least it lets us all, before we start putting a lot of time and
I
effort, that
wouldn't
there's
want
no
to put
argument.
more money into them unless it's agreed.
Right. So we can do that.
I'll put it in form of a motion.
If we checked on the title of that, I know that was, isn't that part of what was bought from when we did the Steel Creek?
International Paper Company.
My memory of that was that it's not restricted in any way to be
It's not.
or just, we need to
Make sure we recorded that because of what happened in Vons. Just a second for Mr. Phillips' motion tonight.
Second.
Moving on, our resolutions tonight, they're basically all housekeeping type motions. First on Resolution 2022-0602, the TAP grant. Somebody want to make a motion to,
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
B, Resolution 2022-0603. Is this the one that we got in from CARE that we have to have on file? If y'all read it, we received this from CARE, the grant writer, and said that we have to have this put up tonight. And I think it has to be for immediate adoption, almost all of them, don't they? See everything?
Except for your, and those were discussed at the last meeting.
Okay, I need somebody to make a motion on the resolution on B, 0603.
I can do that.
Thank you, Jeff.
That'll be the, you have to suspend the rules on both of those, right?
Yes. All right, Resolution 2022-06-04, surplus of property.
I can do that one. We did that one last week, or last meeting.
So you don't have to introduce it, we just have to do a resolution.
I can second it.
D, Resolution 2022-06-05, that's Act 2022-229 RSE, a lump sum.
Approved at the last meeting as well.
Right. You just have to do a resolution, it's already been voted on.
I'll do it.
I'll second.
Okay, we have gone through all the items on the agenda. Is there anything anyone else knows that we need to bring up before the meeting tonight? If not, we got 7 minutes, so we'll reconvene. If y'all want to get up and stretch or get anything, you can. Any of you welcome to stay. Okay, 7:03, I'd like to call the Satsuma City Council back to order for our regular council meeting for the June 21st, 2022 meeting. First thing I'd like to remind everybody tonight is please silence your phone or turn them off before the meeting gets started so they won't be disruptive. In a moment, we're going to ask Councilmember Mike Butler to lead us in a word of prayer, followed by the pledge. So if you're wearing a hat, please take it off at that time. So with that being said, Mr. Butler, would you lead us in a word of prayer and then followed by the pledge, please?
Thank you, Lord, for all the blessings that we have for the city, for our state and everything. And also that we're, Lord, we're praying for all the sick, that they'll be held in. And also that we need to make sure our country is all right and make sure that we're better. And also anything for the workers, all the departments and everything, that they are better too. And for all of this, and Lord, we're talking, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. Heather, would you give us a roll call, please?
Councilmember Little,
Present.
Councilmember Butler,
Present.
Councilmember Skelton,
Present.
Councilmember Reese,
Present.
Councilmember Phillips.
Here.
Mayor Barlow.
Here. Please let the record reflect all being here, including the city clerk and the city attorney. Approval of agenda. The agenda was emailed to each of you, I think, last Friday.
I make the motion.
Motion been made by Ms. Reese to approve the agenda as distributed,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Little. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Next thing is approval of the minutes. First set of minutes is from our regular meeting, which was held on June the 7th, 2022.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion been made by Mr. Skelton, seconded by Mr. Phillips to approve the minutes as distributed. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Approval of the minutes from the workshop last Tuesday, June the 14th, 2022.
I'll put that in form of a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Phillips and seconded by Mr. Little to approve the minutes of the workshop. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Moving on, in recognitions, we don't have any recognitions tonight, but we did receive a thank you from the Patriot Guard regarding the check, and I think they're having their event this weekend. Is that correct? So we got that from several members of our community here that are participants in that. In the pre-council tonight, we had a couple of people that asked to be on the agenda. One was omitted because of a time error, but the other two, we were able to address their concerns in pre-council. One is going to be regarding cows, and we are going to bring back the ordinance tonight for discussion or reintroduce it. Did you get that ordinance number?
Yes, sir, it's 542.
Don't let me put words in the council's mouth, but I do think that we all agreed in pre-council to redistribute this, read over it, and come back at the July 5th meeting to answer the gentleman, Mr. Lee, his concern, Mr. Darrell Lee, at 58 Woodland Avenue, who he has 17 acres, and he agreed to, I guess, he provided us some information tonight and said he would come back once we all had a chance to revisit this and look back over the agenda.
Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt, but, I mean, we have visited that before. I mean, are we gonna change the ordinance, or what specifically are we gonna? Because I know the last time that we did visit it, it did not get a second. And unless we're gonna change something different, I mean, I really don't know why there's a need to revisit it.
Well, Mr. Little, that's certainly your opinion, and that's, you know, I mean, I wish we'd have said that to the gentleman while he was here. But
Mayor, I
there
think,
was a
I
motion, and it
think
died
we
for a lack
have
of a
already.
second.
Mayor, I'd like to
must-
see a vote on it, yes or no. I mean, I'm good with whatever the council wants, but we paid an attorney to draw the ordinance up, and it died from lack of a second. I think we ought to at least say yes, good, or no, we don't want it.
Well, that's what the
And
purpose
there
of
won't
us,
be no more future people coming up here and asking for the same thing.
that's what the purpose of getting a second is.
Randy, I was for it because I was waiting, I think we were waiting for the gentleman to come and who actually the landowner was. But, I mean, if we need to discuss it some more, because I think we were just not substituting, but adding the word cow and keeping it, everything else the same. And one of my concerns was how close were these going to be to the property line? And maybe we could put some verbiage in there like must not be closer than so many yards.
Well, I thought that was the big issue, was the cow part.
Sure. And I guess if there is an odor complaint, because to me, you know, I am concerned about a smell if, you know, if my neighbor had a cow or a horse, for that matter, but
And I thought that's what you voiced concern about the time before.
I did, but it sounds like he's got a plan to rake over it and, like, he's not just getting cows to, like, he seems like he knows how to manage that. I don't know. Because I think before when Mr. Roy came, we were not sure what their plan was, the person that was buying the property.
I guess my opinion is one thing we gotta look at now, if he's cross-fenced the property, he no longer has 17 acres. You know, he's gone, they're not gonna cross the creek. He don't have 17 acres anymore, he's got whatever's on this side of that fence line. That's what he's planning to use.
Oh, to not cross the water. Yeah, he said something about fences, but I don't know where the fences
He said
are.
he was fencing the creek off. I mean, he still has the acreage, even though he's fencing it just to keep them out of the water.
But that's the thing is you no longer have cows on 17 acres. You have cows on 4 acres, 6 acres, whatever it is.
So is he putting the fence like this here? Or keeping them on the backside?
That's the other question.
I didn't think about asking him that.
We can ask that, but I mean, if somebody comes up here, then if we're not gonna hear it, let's don't say come back. I mean, everyone here's heard me clearly say, July the 5th, we'll have time to look over and come back. If y'all didn't wanna do it, that would have been the time to say it, I think. That's the way I think.
We can revisit it again, then. I'm just giving my opinion.
Yes,
I
sir.
thought
I
I thought
understand.
I've already give it more than once. That's fine.
Okay. Mr. Butler, you got any? Nothing? All right, I think everybody else had. Whatever the council's pleasure is on it, but I mean, I do think that, I'm gonna encourage you to ride around the city, all over the city, and make sure when you vote, that you know that there might be cows that's been in certain areas for a long time.
We live all around.
The other thing too, on the ordinance, you know, just because one landowner comes up here and says, I don't do this, I don't put the fence there, you're doing it for the whole city, you know, and that landowner may sell his property. The ordinance has gotta, if we want a restriction of, you can't be so-and-so way away from the property line or a cross fence or something like that, we need to put that in the ordinance. Otherwise, you can't enforce that on there.
And that was one of the things, once we see the ordinance is, odor control was in there as far as nuisance. There is something where, somebody can make a complaint because of the smell. And then if we put it where, so many, like I was saying to Randy, so many yards from the fence line. And then,
How are you gonna control odor?
well, I think he said I guess till it into the land or do something, I don't know. I don't know.
I just don't see a lot of difference between horses and cows.
I disagree with that.
Well, I grew up around and raised them. I mean, I just don't see that much difference between them.
Okay, well, there's no reason. We're going to address it on the July the 5th, so we can get bogged down tonight in that. Everybody has a chance to look over it, bring back what you like or you don't like, or what we can or can't do. And if you don't want to bring it back up, then, okay. On the recommendation of Mr. Butler, then, we'll bring it. He said he wants to see it.
I do too.
Chance to look over it.
Like I say, I just want to vote yes or no, so it's done with.
Okay. All right, that takes, and would you step up? I never say your name properly at the end regarding annexation of the property.
Yes, my name's Kyle Costi on 8450 Boyd Lane, and I'm bringing the paperwork to get annexed into City of Satsuma.
Jay, have you been able to get, I know I saw you talking with
I
Kyle.
looked at it, it looked like it's in order. There's no road or right-of-ways that are affected by that. So if we want to vote on it and bring it into the city, we can. Now, y'all may want more time to look at the maps, whatever.
Can we accept his application and we'll make sure that the council has a chance? I don't know that they've all gone over and looked where they've cleared their property. So they'll know where it's at and what we're voting on.
Yeah, you can do that. You can just accept it, the application, and y'all vote on it next meeting if you'd like.
Application's in order, everything's here.
According to the attorney and the city clerk, the application is in order and he's got the packet. I'm okay if y'all want to vote for it tonight. I'll be done.
I'm okay voting.
I'll make the motion.
tonight, too.
Make the motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Little, seconded by Mr. Skelton to approve or go forward with the annexation of the property at 8450 Boyd's Lane for Kyle and his wife. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Welcome to the city.
Thank you.
We will get those appropriate letters that I talked to you about tonight to the tax and revenue department.
Do they need anything for the school?
We have to send all that out. There's
Okay.
about 15 letters that go out.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to send out like to the Justice Department and make sure we're not
Revenue.
changing voting and stuff like that. So
Right.
all that they have to, usually don't object to it, but we have to send it off to them that's changing. Make
Well,
sure we're not.
the address, like I said, when we bought the property was 8450 Boyd Lane, but our new address, and it's on there, is 8455, because since we were in lot, we were able to break off. Right. And all of that has been fixed at the tax and, everything, so they have it all correct.
Like you said, due to it only being one parcel of property and two people, I don't think it's going to have any effect on anything that should cause us a problem, but we do have to notify the other governmental agencies, so. Okay, that takes care of the recognitions and the visitors coming forward tonight, so if there's nothing else, we'll go into our regular order of business, and we'll start with the mayor's report. I did bring up tonight the death of Mr. Willie McKenzie, a longtime resident of the city of Satsuma. He passed away. His funeral was this past Saturday. Also, Miss Harbin, the wife of former Saraland Mayor Charlie Harbin, passed away. Her funeral was today, so If y'all see any of their family around, you might give the condolences. Real quickly, between the workshop and what we went over in pre-council tonight, I would just like to make sure that the people are aware of certain things that we have going on. It's been brought up about needing benches around the splash pad and around the dog park. The benches have been ordered. Hopefully, they will be in soon. On these pretty hot days, that splash pad has quite a crowd up there.
Mayor, they called today to make sure somebody would be at Public Works tomorrow at 12 o'clock to drop them off.
Thank you. So that's good. So hopefully they'll be at the, up and by the weekend, have them up. I did mention that we had done a little repair on the AC at the library. That's up and going. The LED lights, we're gonna go over later on. Thank you signs that were questioned to be located, and we're going to give Travis the location where we want to put them up. Hopefully, they'll be up by our next council meeting. Both the chiefs have said they are preparing for the event for Sunday afternoon. We'll be ready, so we'll have the police chief, fire chief, and Travis from Public Works. Hopefully, it'll be a nice, pretty day with the weather. Sure to be a good crowd. It seems to always turn out a good crowd up there, so let's hope it does this year. As I said, the department head meeting's on Friday. We're still working on preparing for storms or any type of bad weather, trying to get the generators, the buildings, the pumps that would be needed in that event that to occur, to make sure everything's there. I also mentioned to Jay about our trash or debris pickup outside of a storm. Told him I'd like for us to review that and look into seeing if we can have something in place, and I'd like to go ahead and get that going now. We sure don't want to wait till we got a storm until we are trying to do that, so.
I talked to Tom about that after you asked me, Mayor, and my memory is we have one in place, that's his, and it was renewable every, automatically unless we canceled it. And I believe there's a copy at City Hall. I'll look in my files and see if there's a.
Try to make sure, Jay, Heather, that you find that, or we may have to check with you.
That's it, I believe.
It is, but I can't swear to that. But when you asked me that, I was pretty sure we had one, and that's what his memory is too. It just automatically renews. It has a rate increase on it, cost of living or something like that. But I do think we need to check it, and but I think we're okay.
Well, everything's changed in the last couple of years so much, and almost everything has got something that we deal with indicating for fuel and those type of surcharges. So I just like to make sure we know what we're
Well, check it as well, but I think we
getting
have.
into. Okay, thank you. Okay, I discussed that Jay is trying to work with, between Mr. Joe Tarver and the Ladies Club, or the Women's Club in Satsuma, for a contract regarding the Union Chapel construction. The ladies are requesting that July the 17th at 4 p.m. They have a groundbreaking. Hopefully, I'll be back in touch with y'all before and have something in writing at the next council meeting for review. Robbie Strom and Mr. Cole are supposed to be out here Friday morning in reference to our Go Mesa plant project at Steel Creek Lodge. We're trying to make sure that that project stays moving. We've already discussed the hiring of additional policemen and firemen, or at least calling for the list. In our pre-council tonight, I did mention that, as everybody up on the council knows, I wrote a letter to Mayor Nelson stating our interest in at least exploring any options that may be available with us in Creola. He has not responded, but I did see him at a meeting last week at the courthouse where he did say that he is intending to give us a written response soon. I'll let you know once we hear that. I said we're still waiting on some signs we have to go around the city regarding speeding and some of the dangerous curves that we have. And I believe that's all I have. Everything else should be covered by the council. So with that being said, we'll move from mayor's report to public services and Mr. Little.
Mayor mentioned in pre-council about Ms. Monica Williamson with SARPSI. And just reiterate just a bit, if we can just get some more information, we'll work on that about an upcharge on our van that we was getting. So, like I say, I was just getting that earlier today. We'll try to get some more information and try to get a little better understanding.
If I get anything back from them, I will let you know.
Okay, thanks, that's all.
Yes, sir. Moving on to public safety, Mr. Butler.
I don't have anything tonight.
And the public, and to administration with Mr. Skelton.
I just want to, again, extend a big thank you to our fire, police, public works, sanitation, splash pad attendants, and the ladies and guys in the water department for all they do to keep the city in motion during this bad heat wave we're having. Just appreciate what you do and stay safe and take plenty of breaks. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Skelton. Parks and Recreation, Ms. Allison Reese.
Yes, sir. I didn't mention this at pre-council, but I asked Tom if he had the quotes ready for the C and D field concession stand restroom combo, and he said that he did not have all the quotes and that everyone is busy. Also, the tennis court renovation is underway, so that's exciting. And football registration is starting this Thursday, June 23rd, and then it'll be on the June 30th, July 7th, and July 14th. I did get a response back from baseball, and they're all going to work together like they did last year, and then possibly reach out to softball and see how they're using the fields this fall. And I'm sure we'll be able to come up with something and have all the kids be able to participate. So that's it. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry. I was going to mention this later, but I'll mention it now. So at the municipal dinner on Thursday, I did present Ms. Ludgood with a letter requesting the funding for the water fountain that is to be placed at the Bark Park. So that was estimated around like $4,500. And then I also did include, if there was money in the budget for her, the gator feature at the splash pad. So she did read the letter and said that she would consider it. And so I assume that she'll take that back to one of her meetings, and then I will keep y'all posted if she replies.
Thank you. Maybe she will. Mr. Phillips, Public Works.
Mayor, as I said earlier, the only thing I have is the 60-horse John Deere tractor was delivered and put into service. And I would really like to see everybody go by and look at it. It is a nice piece of equipment. I think it's actually going to help lighten the workload some on them guys. And like I said, again, I think the council made a wise decision with that purchase. That's all I have.
I'm sure they do with an air-conditioned cab, so hopefully.
Yeah, right now that heat, and like I say, there'll be a lot more ground covered because of that.
Yeah, it will be. Okay, that goes through all the council spots. If nothing else, we'll move on to items for discussion and/or consideration. The first one is A, payment of our bills.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $18,515.11.
Second.
Motion been made by Mr. Skelton, seconded by Mr. Phillips to pay the bills in the set amount of $18,515.11. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
B, discussion and consideration of the sidewalk agreement with Civil Southeast TAP 22.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Butler, seconded by Mr. Reese. Any discussion on that? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
And those opposed. C, discussion and consideration of reappointing Billy Salter to the Library Board for a term which was ending in June of 2022. It would be for a 4-year term, according to Heather.
I'll
So-
put that form of motion.
Second, okay. Motion made by Mr. Phillips, seconded by Mr. Butler to reappoint Mr. Billy Salter to the Library Board for the next term, 4 years. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
D, discussion and consideration of reappointing Emily Alano to the library board for a term which was ending also in June 2022 for a 4-year term.
I make the motion.
Motion made by Ms. Reese, seconded by Mr. Butler to reappoint her for another term. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
E, discussion and consideration of creating 2 part-time positions for a part-time firefighter.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Butler and seconded by Mr. Skelton. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
F, discussion and consideration of calling for a full-time firefighter list.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Butler, seconded by Mr. Skelton. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Last week at our workshop, we spent quite a bit of time going over the LED lighting contract. Jeff from Alabama Power was here with us earlier to answer any questions, but the council agreed for signing an agreement with Alabama Power on changing our lights at several locations around City Hall. I think it was some at the old City Hall, Lions Park, going to the LED lighting, which they estimated or said would eventually save money and put out more light. So it appears to be a good move. So, well, with that
Who has
being
that one?
said,
Motion on
I
that?
was just fixing to say, with that being said, there's got to be an motion. So
I'll put that in form of a motion.
Second.
motion made by Mr. Phillips, seconded by Mr. Little. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 H, discussion and consideration of an estimate for signs by design for a sign and installation at the Bark Park entrance.
I make the motion.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Reese and seconded by Mr. Little for a park, sign for approximate cost of $4,400. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Discussion and consideration of a quote for directional signs around the city from Explosive Signs.
I make the motion to include the Bark Park and changing city dump to trash ramp.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Motion made by Ms. Reese, seconded by Mr. Little to contract with Explosive Signs regarding some directional signs, some signs throughout the city with that one add-on that she had. I'm sure it'll take some time, and we'll come back and make sure everything is, if it's okay with y'all, that we have it, so y'all all see what we have and make sure that
Yeah, the proof.
wording, verbiage is all okay. Okay, with that being said, is there anything else? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? J was discussion and consideration of city property on Laurel Drive. And that was with us proceeding to look at how we could subdivide the property.
Mayor, I'd like to put in form of motion that we start the proceedings to sell these properties up 10 lots
Okay.
on Laurel Drive.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Phillips, seconded by Mr. Little. Any further discussion on that?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about that a little bit if we can. I'm concerned with taking an asset off the city books. With the state of the economy right now, the way everything is, the way the bond and loan market is. You know, if we go, you take off, start selling city assets, and you're not replacing them with city assets, you know, I think we're going to be in a bind when it comes time for us to do a bond, or if we get in a bind and need to sell something one day. That's my concern with it.
I think the other night at the workshop, we all discussed certain ways we could use the funds, and everything would be going right back to betterment of the city or the parks or to match grants or do something. So you know, I understand your opinion, but, anyway, that's, be well noted. So, thanks for your comment.
Roll
Hey,
call
sir.
vote, Mayor.
Are you,
Uh,
we still discussing? or-
Yeah, it's a discussion right now, sure.
Are you, concerned about that short term, or, I mean, what's the red flag about that as far as anything that'll hurt the city?
Yeah, that's up in the air. I mean, we got a report from S&P. The city's credit rating is A, which is stable. But, you know, there were some flags there towards the end that was kind of cautioning you about things. And Heather and I think our accountant has a call with them tomorrow to discuss what their findings were and what our plan is in the future. Just to address some of the concerns they had in a letter. But, you know, that's my position on it at the moment. And, you take it for what it's worth.
Well, we're not talking about, like you say, anytime soon, is that as far as selling them, or we gonna, is a little ways from that, or?
We're a little ways from that, Randy. We've discussed this, and we discussed it at length the other night. I mean, Jason, if you got a problem, you should say things.
I'm
before
not
gets to
for
this
it.
point.
I'm
Okay?
not for it.
Mayor, there's a motion and a second, and I'd like a roll call vote.
Sure. All right, well, Good.
What, are we gonna keep discussing though?
if you got something you want to add that you hadn't
Okay.
added before.
I just, well, I didn't even get to look at it until today, and I am concerned, you know, that looks very cookie cutter, with those lots the way that they are, and it seems like there is already an intention of who's gonna be going after the property. And even Tom said at the last meeting that, that you could put some stipulation in there, like you had to build within a certain amount of time. So it sounds like y'all have somebody or some builder in mind, and I know we've got D.R. Horton houses going up in our neighborhood, and I just don't hear good things about them. So I worry about what kind of quality product we're gonna be putting in the city. And since it's our property, we can sit on our assets. Oh. I'm sorry. And you talked about using it for parks and stuff, but we do have those, budgeted items, to work on the concession stand at C&D Field. So if we're getting close to discussing the budget, so if we feel like there's something that needs to be addressed, I think we could work together to come up with whatever the funding might be.
Was you here last Tuesday night?
I just
You
didn't
just
know what,
didn't hear- Did all these things just magically appear when?
well, I wasn't sure what you were talking about, and
You
I've
didn't have
just,
one word of objection to it the other night. Not one word.
I was just listening to information.
No, you just, you don't, do you have any other ways you like to generate revenue? I think, Mr. Skelton said that we got that coming up, and he was asked in last meeting, different ways, you know, maybe you've got some other business ideas of recruitment or something.
Is there something that you would like to buy that we're not able to with the budget that we have right now?
Well, I would like to be able to do a lot of things. I would like to be able to do some repair around this building. I'd like to look at being able to put cameras at different places around the city, as I've discussed with you on multiple occasions.
Sure,
You
that
always say,
sounds
"All
reasonable.
these things are good ideas, but we've got to fund those projects.
But I know that there's money left in my budget, so if we looked at each department to see how much money is left and what our intentions are, what we need to look for the next year, I mean, we can budget for those cameras and security, because I am for security around the parks and different areas around the
Right.
city.
Jason, are you having a meeting tomorrow about this?
Yeah, I've got a conference call.
Well, we want to go be included in
Well, I
the
was gonna
meeting?
say, well, I mean,
got the email?
I didn't get no email.
I ain't got no email that I've
You
said.
didn't get an email from S&P.
I know.
You know, it seems like there's starting to be a lot of meetings held by council members where others aren't informed and invited, and that needs to stop. I mean, it needs to
will.
stop.
All right, well, there was a discussion of the property. In pre-council, Bubba said he'd make the motion. He just made it. Mr. Little said he'd second the motion. Is that still there?
Yeah, but I want to reiterate, I've heard some other discussion, and if there's a problem with us short-term, that it might affect our, ratings, then we should wait just a little while. Is that gonna, I mean,
Don't the ratings affect the insurance rates of the city and stuff? I think that's important.
What?
The rating?
I'm
affects
for
insurance?
selling the lots. Don't get me wrong. I think it'll generate some
right.
revenue and all of that, but I just, we should wait for just a little while until all this gets cleared up. If that's, we think that's an issue.
Both y'all at the last meeting last Tuesday night said there was no problem with it. I
It's
don't
no
think that-
problem, but I didn't know about,
Said that. That's first I heard this.
yeah, and that's
Are you
first I
changing
heard
your
about it.
position from last Tuesday night?
Just what I say Randy said. I wanted to see what Jason's about his meeting tomorrow. It might be something different. I didn't know.
We have worked really hard to get that rating up. I know that
How'd you work hard to get the rating up?
we've made a special fund to put extra money into each year. Is it like a? Reserve fund. So
Originally, y'all put 25,000 every quarter, and this council agreed to put 8,000 in it, and that's part of the S&P's concern is we're not gonna meet the original goal. That's in the letter.
Well, look, there's a motion and a second on the floor. There was a request for a roll call vote. Give a roll call vote, please, Heather.
Councilmember Little,
Against,
Councilmember Butler,
No.
Councilmember Skelton,
No.
Councilmember Reese,
no,
Councilmember Butler, Phillips,
Yes.
Mayor Barlow.
Yes. Let it show that 4,
3.
There's 4 against.
4 and 2 for.
I thought Randy voted yes.
He said he was, but he didn't. So, and so did Mr. Butler, but they don't usually,
I will vote for it under certain circumstances.
yeah, that's what you said before we brought it up, Randy. Just, let's go ahead and move on. All right, resolution, ordinances, orders, and other business. Resolution 2022-0602, TAP, grant as TAPAA-TA 22- or parentheses 921.
Make that motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Little and seconded by Mr. Phillips. All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Go suspend the rules, put that one up for immediate adoption.
I thought we had to do the next two up for immediate adoption.
A and B.
I make the motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Reese, seconded by Mr. Skelton, to suspend the rules and put the motion up for immediate adoption. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
B, Resolution 2022-06-03.
Make a motion to suspend the rules and put up for immediate adoption, Resolution 2022-06-03.
Motion made by Mr. Skelton, seconded by Mr. Butler, to put the said resolution up for immediate adoption. Do we have to give some information on it? I know we have to read it all, but don't we have to give a reading?
Explain what it is. You don't have to read it. Just so the public will know what the motion is about.
So basically, it's a Title VI program, and it states that the city of Satsuma is a recipient of federal financial assistance from the Alabama Department of Transportation in support of transit services, which imposes certain obligations upon the recipient, including complying with the Title VI federal requirements. And whereas the Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, and national origin in programs and activities receiving federal financial assistance. And whereas the city of Satsuma commits to assure that no person shall, on the grounds of race, color, national origin, or sex, as provided by Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Civil Rights Restoration Act of 1987 be excluded from participation in, denied the benefits of, or be otherwise subjected to discrimination under any program or activity regardless of the funding source.
I thought we already had that in several of the things we did years ago, but I guess it's got to be with all the, must be, Kara called last week and said we did not have it and it had to be sent in. So that's how we got from here to there, so.
They actually sent the contract back to us and just said it had to be renewed. So often it's
All right. Motion was made by Jason, second by Allison, put it up to suspend the rules and put the motion up for immediate adoption. Any further discussion or clarification of it? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Resolution 2022-06-04, surplus property.
Make that motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Little and seconded by Ms. Reese for Resolution 2022-06-04. That's the sale of surplus city property. Are we just introducing that one tonight, or are we putting it up for immediate adoption?
That was introduced last week.
Okay, then, all right, then it was introduced last week. Is there any discussion on it? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Let it show it passed. Final thing on our agenda tonight is Resolution 2022-06-05. That's Act 2022-229 RSA Retirement Lump Sum.
Make that motion. Do we need to give that sum?
I think we did it
It's in
last
the
week.
thing. Okay,
It's already been in.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Little, seconded by Mr. Phillips on said resolution. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
I abstain on that one. Okay, we've addressed everything that was coming before the council tonight. Is there anything else that we need to address prior to adjournment?
Yes, I just want to go on the record and state that basically accusing somebody of having secret meetings or whatever.
Hey, look, it's not on the agenda tonight, and there's no reason to go ahead and,
I knew nothing about that.
let's,
I'm not saying something's not.
hey, gentlemen, that's not on the agenda. It wasn't covered in pre-council. We've covered everything. I'd like a motion to adjourn.
I don't ride around in a city
But-
truck on weekends. So motion made to adjourn.
Second.